Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Owner of a restaurant wanted me to spy and tell them what was wrong with the restaurant. So I did. I've never been a manager before, but I have my bachelor's degree in management. I just started at a new restaurant. I've come from several corporate companies, but this place was a second store of a mom-and-pop company. I've always been a server, but I was hired as a bartender. Important for later. In the interview, the two owners tell me that they are looking to make the place more professional and turn some things around. Get hired on the spot to come in the next day. I come in, no one knows anything. I am not on the schedule and my trainer is late and there isn't a manager. The owners are nowhere to be found. When I actually start working, I'm just thrown in, expected to make drinks, take orders, know the kitchen, everything, no biggie. I jump in and do what I gotta do. Some highlights. The staff are drinking alcoholic drinks on the job, not measuring any liquor, giving out free drinks, not checking IDs and also closing the restaurants 2 hours early and so on. The next day, the only server scheduled for dinner shift is running late. The morning server asks me to fill in until he gets there. So I end up just covering the entire floor. About 10 tables by myself on my second day in training. The owners tell me over the phone how awesome I am for jumping in and covering this. That I'm exactly what they need to fix the restaurant. On day 3, they call me into the office to check in and see how everything is going. I tell them that I'm confused and I need recipes for the drinks, since only one bartender knows any recipes. They ask me what I've noticed is wrong and tell them what the other bartenders are doing that is not supposed to happen. And I tell them honestly about the lack of controls, the lack of recipe cards, and the closing early. They blame it all on the bartenders and thank me. Tell me that I need to keep an eye out and stay in touch with what's going wrong in the bar. Cue malicious compliance. I tell them straight up that the problem is the lack of management, that if they want recipe cards, training procedures, or drink standards, that they either need to do it themselves or pay a bartender manager wages to it, that it isn't the bartender's fault that these things are wrong, and they needed to step up. After a long, unproductive, unprofessional conversation, I left and took the other 2 bartenders on shift with me, leaving them with no one in the restaurant to serve. They wanted to tell me that I'm too ignorant about running a restaurant, but they get to figure out how to run their own restaurant now. Next story. Noses are crunchy. I was working at Toys for Tots in the DC area, which is a program for the Marine Corps runs every year to gather toys and gifts and distribute them to kids whose Christmas tree would likely disappoint Charlie Brown. Sexist or no, they seem to pick those of us who have the Marine look, in the casting sense. Tall, masculine, etc. Or on the ladies' side, that peculiar blend of I'll beat you up with one hand while doing my eyeliner with the other. It is as much marketing as anything, especially in the DMV. Point being, we're a bunch of tall, very fit yucks out there in dress blues, smiling and coaxing toys out of people who could have probably saved Toys R Us with pity stock earnings. We look nothing like waitstaff. Myself 6'1", 210 pounds, and my fellow Marine 5'4", probably 135 pounds. We were assigned to an event at the Smithsonian. Somehow the Corps had managed to get a display and a few donation bins put up at a black tie. Invitation-only shindig surrounding the display of the Hope Diamond and a bunch of other large hunks of carbon. Personally, I do not understand the obsession with it. It is a large shiny rock. No one is wearing it. It serves no scientific purpose. And it just sits there so you can look at it or something. I feel more satisfaction looking at an exceptionally big turd the night after Taco Tuesday. At least I made it myself, often with significant effort and no small amount of regret or self-loathing to provide fuel for the push. Anyway, we're smiling our pearly whites while the various movers and doers shake our hands. Toys on display posing for the cameras, so their constituents, stockholders, etc. can see how kind-hearted they are. The sick thing is how many don't even donate. They just get a photo in front of the pile of toys. Sans the generosity. Pretty much par for the course. The initial wave of donations passes as the event gets down to business. Drinks are passed out, and they start in with the hors d'oeuvre. We're standing there surreptitiously munching and trying not to get those white gloves dirty, when this lady, who's best described as a chubby mixed-race female Steve Buscemi, comes toddling up in a dress, waistcoat thing that looked like it was screaming for mercy from the bottom ferry.
Hey you! You two! I'm dry here. Let's get snappy with a refill.
Or something like this. We did not realize she was talking to us, so I only have paid attention. After a second of us not replying, she continued screaming.
Hey! I know you hear me. Get in gear. Flirting time is over.
At this point, we realize she meant us. I look over at POKED, my fellow Marine's nickname. She looks at me and we look at the lady. It took us a second, okay? And finally I speak. Can I help you, ma'am?
About time. I need a refill. And while you're at it, give me some of those little,
some random munchy things.
They stopped bringing them out a few minutes ago. You guys really…
POKED tells her, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we do not work here. We're just here with the toys.
I don't care what you think. Get in gear or I will have your job. I'll not be talked to by someone like you.
She proceeds to toss her empty-ish glass at POKED, who gets some leftover drips on her blues, but catches it out of reflex. I can see the thunder clouds gathering. A stain like that likely means she's likely looking at a new blues coat, which runs a few $100s. Probably a new ripping setup too. POKED is Puerto Rican and has a temper to match. So I tried to hit the lady off. Ma'am, we're not waitstaff. We're just…
I don't wanna hear your excuses. Do you know who my husband is?
She proceeds to put her finger right under my nose and continue the tirade. Apparently hubby was a Southern Senator's main booster / campaign funder. So said Google. I would see to it I'd be sleeping under newspaper and so on. After about 10 odd seconds of this, we started to draw stairs and some of the staff were starting to head our way. However much I wanted to put this witch in a compliance hold, I could pretty well visualize a CNN article if a male Marine laid hands on a woman in front of all of those people, especially a politically connected one. I was sort of at loss. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to make that choice. POKED made it for me. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Please take your glass in. She held out the woman's glass to her and she said this. The woman immediately switches her ass from me to POKED. She slaps the glass out of POKED's hand. I could see POKED's control wavering, but there wasn't anything for it. Fat Steve bored right in. The critical mistake was to start jabbing POKED with her finger, right in the chest with each word.
You shut your spick mouse.
I cringed visibly at the second to last word, because yeah, I knew exactly what was about to happen, and it did. It's called urugatame in judo, basically a standing arm lock, and POKED was a 2-tap black belt. POKED snatched her arm up, locked her out and slammed her face straight into the wall next to us. Blood, broken nose, dry wool, dust, the whole bit. POKED didn't even say anything. Just that grim tea smile that says, "I'm going to screw you up so hard, your grandkids will be born with my handprints on their soul." It was awesome, and a little hot to be honest. I, being both a senior marine and somewhat cooler of temperament, carefully pulled POKED back. I dare say it was akin to handling a small but very dangerous animal. Fat Steve kind of slides to the floor, actually much quieter now that she's trying to aspirate a mixture of blood and gypsum. Security finally showed up to help, which resulted in them hauling the woman away and taking us to a separate room, where we gave our vision of things. Security recordings were reviewed, of which there were many with fancy rocks everywhere. POKED wanted to press assault charges. I called the head shit to let them know what happened, and they sent a van to pick us and the toys up. Funny enough, it never seemed to make it to the news. I think that, more than anything, saved POKED. Upon coming back to the main event area to load the toys and take down the display, we were given a wide berth by many of the upper crusties. I feel compelled to mention the notable exception. This one old lady who came up and asked if she could give POKED a hug, of all things. Just gonna give her that grandma-style hug, patted her on the back and took her hands. You know, in my younger years, I would have stomped that whale flat. Wonderfully done, dear. And then wandered off to rejoin the party. It was adorable. Next story. Harass my girlfriend and I will break off your engagement. This is how it starts. My girlfriend decides to move to New Jersey after graduation to start off work. Being a poor graduate student at the time, she is looking to save money by sharing an apartment with a roommate. She hunts for a place on the Indian Craigslist and finds a two-bed apartment posted by another girl. The rent is cheap and the girl seems to be okay. She moves in. Soon she realizes that this girl has a fiancé. Let's call him DF. DF works as a software engineer through a shady consulting firm. DF visits his girl every weekend and consummately displays his obnoxious self. He hoards the only bathroom every night for 2 hours at a time, taking a beauty bath. Post his bath, DF proceeds to watch Indian TV at full volume late into the night. This happens every weekend. When I heard this, I asked my girlfriend to move out. But the rent is cheap as she wants to avoid the hassle of searching for another place. Fast forward 3 months. DF is laid off from his job and moves into my girlfriend's shared apartment. Now he hoards a bathroom twice a day for 2 hours each and blasts Indian TV at full volume all day. My girlfriend is super annoyed and brings this up with DF's fiancé. She wants my girlfriend to adjust for a while as she thinks DF will get a job soon and move out. She also promises to ask DF to tone down his obnoxious behavior, but nothing changes. And then, my girlfriend starts receiving inappropriate emails from an unknown ID. My girlfriend has seen her fair share of perverts and proceeds to block his email ID. But the emails keep coming from other alternate IDs with a certain message that says, "We can meet up without your boyfriend and Boston knowing." This creeps her out. Our relationship is new and very few people know that we are together. She forwards me those emails to see if I can figure out who this pervert is. I immediately suspected DF as he was around when I helped her move into this place. To test my hypothesis, I visited her the next day and stayed with her for a couple of days. No emails. The next day I pretend to leave and she gets another mail. Now I was pretty sure this was DF, but had no hard evidence to confirm it was him. I needed to come up with a plan. I went through all his old emails, and there was one that was sent from a cellular device. Aha! I look up the email details. Received from X. X-mailer, iPhone Mail 13F69. This makes my case stronger. The IP address points to the same approximate location where my girlfriend stays. Also, DF has an iPhone. Still not a 100% sure, I get an idea and ask my girlfriend to play along. I rented out a hotel close to her place, in case the F turns crazy. My girlfriend tells her roommate that she has been receiving inappropriate emails from some unknown person, and that she's going to approach the cops. The F's face turns blue. He asks my girlfriend not to go to the cops as they will not register a case without any indication of a real threat. Like I did not know that. And my girlfriend pretends to agree with him. The next day my girlfriend tells DF and his girl that she went to the cops and they traced the IP of the sender. The emails are sent from the home Wi-Fi network. DF is now crapping bricks. He proceeds to convince his girl that it's a super easy process to hack into a home Wi-Fi network and it could have been anybody. His girl buys the story, and as they say, love is blind. Then the final bombshell. A few hours later, my girlfriend tells DF and his girl that the cops want my girlfriend to come to the police station this evening. The cops have identified the pervert who has been sending her emails. She also tells them that the cops want her to press charges and it will be a 2-year jail term at the minimum. DF is now in panic mode. My girlfriend can hear him pacing inside his room yelling at his girl. He finally comes out sobbing and confesses. He asks my girlfriend not to pursue charges and to ask the cops to forget the whole thing. He is also willing to refund her rent for the last 6 months from his pocket. Meanwhile, I have already found her a new 1-bedroom apartment. She takes the money from him and leaves. A few weeks later, DF gets an anonymous email. There were no cops all along. There will be if you get the slightest idea of retaliating. On the same day, my girlfriend gets an email from DF's fiancé. It reads, "Sorry for all the trouble. As you can imagine, I broke off my engagement with that pervert. Also, he had to return to India as he would not find a new job. Good riddance." Next story. Dine and Dash, I'm coming for ya. This is a little story about the time a table ran out on me after running up a huge bill. Anyway, in my youth, my profession of choice was serving at a local Irish pub. Had a lot of good times and some great stories, including one where some dude straight up blew up our bathroom. No, seriously, dude blew up the entire toilet with explosive powder. Anyways, getting back to our story. The scene is a very crowded bar, 2 floors, and both have an outside section all packed. I was working the downstairs patio, along with a few bar tables inside. After grabbing some drinks for a table outside, I noticed another head sat down in my section. There were 5 women, all very attractive. At first, they seemed really nice, very complimentary, and they were all ordering top shelf. This is good. Maybe I'll get a good tip out of them. The night goes on. I notice one of them wandering around inside for a minute before going back out. No big deal. I did just drop off their check. Maybe she was getting out some cash. Nope. I head out outside and they are gone. Just absolutely nowhere to be seen. Oh heck no. They ran up a nearly $200 bill and what was inside? A measly $10. Now anyone who works in restaurants in America knows that some employers could be jerks and make you pay out of pocket if this happens to you. Total jerk move. My managers were fantastic people though, and pretty much calmed most of it. But still I wasn't going to let this slide. I go into full-blown detective mode. As noted above, when I noticed one of the girls lingering inside, she briefly had talked to a table. Sitting there was a group of middle-aged people who were so amazing, I would love to give them a big old hug right now if possible. I told them the story and they actually offered to pay the bill. But not before one of the women noted that she actually had a short conversation with one of the Dine and Dashers. Oh yes, we got a lead. I was informed that they were heading to the local club. Maybe I should have figured that by myself. They seem the type and there's only one in town, but whatever. I did decline their offer to pay it off as I would be getting what's mine from the culprits, and not from some great people. The revenge. I informed my manager what happened, what information I gained and what was about to be done. I grabbed a food runner named Bill, in pretty good shape. Older dude, super guy in general. I was also 19 at the time and he was an adult. His presence was very helpful. After that I informed my tables I would be back, that one of my co-workers would take care of them and off to the races. We walk over to the bar and explain the situation to the doorman. And this dude was so stoked on helping. He in turn takes us to the upstairs bouncers. Those bouncers look at me, and one says with a booming voice, "The homies were so huge. All you gotta do is point them out. We have no tolerance for that kind of behavior." Can I just take a minute to express the pure joy and adrenaline that pumped through my veins when I walked through the doors and saw the whole group grinding together? Picture Leonidas stoutly raising his arm, pointing to the offenders and confidently saying, "There they are." That's how I felt. It was glorious. They turned with a look of absolute horror before making a break for the door. The bouncer were majestic lions while the drunk ladies were gazelles who spent maybe a little too much time at the watering hole. What followed was an epic walk of shame. They were ferried down to floors while people gawked and cheered before finally arriving outside. And who do I see there? It's Brad, the pie cop. I explained the situation but mentioned I don't want to press charges as long as they pay. So while being detained, one of them hands me her credit card and I walk back to the restaurant triumphantly. It is done. I have won. When I walked back, I guess word had spread, and I actually got an ovation after I hefted the credit card over my head. Freaking brilliant. A top moment. I was on cloud 9 for a week after that. Anyway, I actually want to include a short follow-up. I was scheduled the next day to work and who do I see but one of the women. She sees me and immediately apologizes. Apparently they are all co-workers, and whenever they go out they take turns handling the bill. She told me that she was under the impression that it was taken care of, and even noted that she left $10 even though she was assured I was already tipped well. Very apologetic. She was forgiven. Crap happens, and it was already dealt with. I also assured her she gave me a story for life, and sometimes those can be more valuable than any amount of money. Edit. Just answering a few questions and adding something. I didn't add any additional tip onto the card afterwards. It wouldn't have been ethical. I was fine with getting my money back. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if the girl who came back could have been lying by omission regarding being completely ignorant to the situation, but heck, it was something, so whatever. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.